government in power with Ranil Wickremesinghe as president and Dinesh Gunawardene as the prime minister. But after a brief lull following Rajapaksa's resignation, protests have reignited across the country. Hundreds of Sri Lankan soldiers and security officials raided the main anti-government protest camp in Colombo earlier today. Security forces tore down campsites and clashed with unarmed protesters. Security personnel armed with batons removed barricades set up by protesters blocking the main gate of the presidential secretariat. Over 50 protesters have been injured. Lankan citizens on the streets still feel that the change they demanded has not been fulfilled.
वो श्रीलंका के जवान जो है तैनात है, जो बॉर्डर्स पर हमेशा रहते हैं, लेकिन आज जो बॉर्डर्स के जवान हैं वो सड़कों पर उतर कर आ गए हैं और एक तरफ जो है ये प्रदर्शनकारी जो है वो लगातार यहाँ पर तैनात है। इनकी तरफ से लगातार नारेबाजी जो है की जा रही है। इनकी तरफ से नारेबाजी करते हुए लगातार ये कह रहे हैं कि देखिए रानिल गो होम, क्योंकि जाहिर सी बात है कि भाषा का बहुत
Also, this thing is the problem is a long problem extension. That is you don't know. Now the rest Navy is hit to the protest people. It's a totally 100% wrong. Tomorrow we will go to the human rights for the illegal action. They are the silent struggles. They are doing silent struggles. Whatever, without announcement, the Navy and army is hitting to the protest people. Why they do like that? We don't know.
This president is not good. Now president also not good.
तो जज्बात सिर्फ यही कह रहे हैं कि देखिए रानिल विक्रमसिंघे को जो अपना इस्तीफा देना होगा। वो कह रहे हैं कि अगर हम शांति से प्रदर्शन कर रहे थे तो क्या दिक्कत है, हमें प्रदर्शन करने देते, और अगर आर्मी को सड़कों पर तैनात किया गया था तो आखिर शांतिपूर्वक जो है उन्हें क्यों नहीं शांतिपूर्वक उन्हें जो है क्यों नहीं समझाने के लिए कहा गया, क्यों जो है लाठीचार्ज यहाँ पर किया गया।
Purnima Murli is in Colombo and she joins me live. Purnima, after the midnight crackdown by Ranil Wickremesinghe's government, will the protests continue?
Well, at the moment, there's an uneasy calm. You can find these army trucks also on standby in and around the protest site. At the moment, all the protesters have been evacuated and the entire stretch remains deserted. But protesters say that they are going to invite citizens of Sri Lanka to join them in a mega rally that they've planned for July 25th. July 25th, they've invited all the citizens to come forward and join the anti-government protest. They say that they are not going to back off and the protests will continue till Ranil Wickremesinghe resigns. And the fact that yesterday's crackdown in terms of assaulting protesters and journalists, that crackdown has not gone down well because protesters wanted to reach a middle ground, hold discussions with Ranil. They were planning to vacate the presidential secretariat in the afternoon. So the question was, why did the crackdown happen when they promised to leave the presidential secretariat? So the anger towards Ranil Wickremesinghe has only intensified and a mega protest is planned for the 25th of July.
And Purnima, how is the new government being looked at by the people on ground, particularly after this unexpected crackdown?
Well, time and again, they've always maintained that Ranil is someone who's seen as being directed by the Rajapakshas, as someone who's protecting the Rajapakshas, and with the Prime Minister, newly appointed Prime Minister, also a loyalist of Rajapaksha, with Ranil Wickremesinghe now trying to use military troops to disperse the crowd that has been peacefully protesting for more than 100 days. That has not gone down well with the protesters. They say that this is exactly why they think that Ranil should not be the president of Sri Lanka, and that anger against Ranil is also intensifying, saying that this is not something that Ranil should do. He should allow protesters to protest peacefully and not be directed by the Rajapakshas. That's the word that's coming in from protesters. Many of them were assaulted and many of them have gone back to their respective rooms because entire stretch is now heavily guarded and there are barricades everywhere, so protesters cannot come anywhere closer to the Galle face.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Purnima. Stay safe. As the race for the Prime Minister of Britain gets tighter, it is a big test for Indian origin Rishi Sunak, who served as the Finance Minister of Britain. After rising as the prime contender for the top post, my colleague Sanjay Suri gets us this report on how British citizens are seeing Sunak's rise as the nation is on the cusp of creating history. I'm leaving you with this. I'll be seeing you on A Billion Ideas tomorrow.
Rishi Sunak is, of course, looking not just to replace Boris Johnson, but Boris Johnson's great hero Winston Churchill, who thought Indians are people who need to be ruled over, to be abused, to be starved even, and in millions, and he did all of that. He thought Indians are people not capable of governing themselves. The thought that someone from India could come to govern Britain as Prime Minister, move into Downing Street, go weekly to Her Majesty the Queen to brief her on his decisions for Britain, this surely would have been a thought from another world. Already, Rishi Sunak has done so much to change those old assumptions and to bash through the glass ceiling, to show Britain new possibilities for itself and to show the world new possibilities for Britain. And right across from Winston Churchill standing on Westminster Square, there is Gandhi right behind here. And surely it's tempting to try and guess for ourselves what Gandhi might have thought. Certainly he would have been pleased, but perhaps not in a triumphalistic way of the narrow nationalistic kind. He would have been pleased that barriers have been broken, that barriers he struggled so hard to confront and to tear down have come down now in ways that no one in India then could have foreseen, and certainly no one in Britain. And so who moves into 10 Downing Street once Boris Johnson moves out? Rishi Sunak has been living down that street in number 11 as Chancellor of the Exchequer earlier. But the odds are against him moving in next door. Not a lot of British people sound exactly enthusiastic about that prospect.
I like Rishi Sunak. I'm not sure about his handling of the economy in the last few years, but would he get my vote if I was a Conservative voter? I don't know. He's very tainted by being close to Boris Johnson for me. So, but is he the best out of the three? Difficult to say for me, really. He's probably the most qualified. I kind of wish he hadn't been supporting Johnson for as long as he had.
Yeah, I like him, but I think he stuck with Boris for too long, and I think he should have resigned earlier and showed that he wanted to leave the country.
He's